Good morning. I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche Organization with your daily video update for December 27th, 2023. The Economist magazine, which is the journal of the City of London, has a report on the continuing war in Gaza. And it points out that Israel has detonated more than 29,000 bombs and munitions in Gaza. The result of this assault has been over 20,000 dead, more than half of them women and children. The destruction of hospitals, homes, schools, and mosques. The displacement of more than 70% of the Palestinian population, and actually the Palestinian authorities say that it's more like 85 to 90%. The spread of hunger, and with hunger, disease, and the fact that there are no safe zones, that the Israelis have ordered them out of certain areas into other areas, which then become the next subject to attack. Now, in this context, there are calls coming from Netanyahu and his extremist allies for what they're calling voluntary migration. That's the current term for ethnic cleansing of Gaza. That is the removal of all Palestinians. There are several articles, several of Netanyahu's allies who have said this, but it's now becoming a repeated statement. Will other countries take 10,000 Palestinians? Will the Israelis have to pay them to do this, and so on? But they say they want it to be voluntary migration. But where can people go? What's left for them? Now, this has been the goal of the Greater Israel fanatics, of the radical Zionists from the beginning of this war, from October 7th. But some say it's the goal from going back to 1948 with the original catastrophe, the Nakba. Now, this war could not be continued at this level without financial backup, military equipment backup, and open political and diplomatic support from the United States. The Times of Israel has a report on what this has meant in terms of the material needed for the war. There have been 244 U.S. transport planes and 20 ships, which have delivered more than 10,000 tons of weapons and military equipment to Israel. Now, that's what has been doing the damage in Gaza, has destroyed virtually every standing building, home, hospital, and so on, and has left the place an unlivable landscape with who knows how many bodies still buried under the rubble. And now the Israel Defense Minister and the Chief of Staff of the Israel Defense Forces say this war may go on for many, many months, despite the supposed efforts of the Biden administration to get it wrapped up by the end of January. Now, in this context, there's growing opposition within Israel to what Netanyahu's doing. Haaretz, one of the leading papers in Israel, had an editorial over the weekend calling for the removal of King Bibi from the prime ministership. Now, what we've done at the LaRouche Organization is we've put together a leaflet titled "The Military Financial Complex is Bloated on Blood Money from Wars." And we did this because it's necessary to get a sense of who's responsible for these kinds of destruction, for this kind of destruction and this kind of rampage, whether you're talking about Ukraine, you're talking about Gaza. There are many other wars, many other areas where there are deployments of NATO forces and US forces in the last 2 decades, which have had similar levels of destruction. So this new leaflet, which will be attached in the description section below, is available for you to print out and circulate. And I would recommend that this be a major task undertaken by our viewers, whether you share it and forward it or print it out and leaflet it. It's essential that this information get out because it's not generally known to the public other than the vague term military-industrial complex. We put the names and the coordination together. We have the names of the corporations involved and their stockholders. Companies such as Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, BAE, the British arms manufacturer. And then we have a table underneath that which gives you the top 3 stockholders of all of these companies. The 3 most prominent are State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock, of course. Now, it's these stockholders who benefit from the wars, who benefit from the 10,000 plus tons of military equipment sent to Israel, who have benefited from the more than $100 billion from US taxpayers that's gone into the war against Russia and Ukraine, and that continues to flow toward the potential of a war against Iran and China. So these are the firms also which fund the politicians and the officials who push these wars and support these wars. An example, just a simple one, is the Secretary of Defense of the United States, retired General Lloyd Austin, who before becoming Defense Secretary was on the board of Raytheon. So these are the networks which promote war through lies, disinformation, and censorship, through the government officials and through the media cartels. And when I talk about lies, think about the Ukraine situation. We've been lied to since 1991 about NATO plans to dismantle Russia. And the fact that after Russia was promised, Gorbachev was promised there would be not 1 inch further eastward motion of NATO. It's gone over 1,000 kilometers. It's incorporated another 15 or so countries on the border of Russia as part of NATO. And Ukraine was the straw that broke the camel's back. The idea of bringing Ukraine into NATO after promises that it would never happen. The lies about the Minsk Accord, that there would be an agreement for mutual security for Russia and Ukraine. All of these were thrown out the window, and then the media never tells you that these were lies, that these were based on an original intention, cranked out through think tanks and academics and State Department and defense and intelligence officials, that they intended to use these wars to protect and promote the continued existence of the unipolar order. And what's the unipolar order, the so-called rules-based order? It's the rules and regulations that are imposed by military force. So instead of funding crucial infrastructure in the United States, rail, airports, roads, bridges, water management, hospitals and healthcare, schools, research and development, instead of investing in those areas, hundreds of billions, actually trillions of dollars have gone into the military financial complex. And that's partly used to back up the bloated speculative bubble of uncollectible debt of corporations and of the US government. They keep the speculative economy going. And who benefits? These shareholders, not the American people, not the people of Israel, not the people of Gaza. So download our leaflet and get it out. And join me today for my weekly discussion with Helga Zepp-LaRouche, where we'll discuss exactly where things stand internationally and what you can do to become a part of the solution to this. It's our intention to make sure that the new year sees the establishment of a new paradigm of security guarantees and economic development for all peoples. Hello, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Support our independence to produce videos like these. Become a member of the LaRouche Organization at thelarouche.org/member. By becoming a member for $25 or more, you'll get special access to the EIR Alert Daily Briefing and Weekly Magazine, which is what I read to stay on top of things.